Hello and good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate you participating in today's appointment project with Webster Groves. I'm Beth Felsky and I'm the Appointments Project Director. Just some housekeeping items. First off, we'd like you to mute until the Q&A portion, and we really encourage you to use the chat today as well. So once again, thanks for your time on this Monday. First off, I want to thank all of our community partners, the League of Women Voters, the Alliance for Interracial Dignity, Webster Groves, Shrewsbury, Rock Hill, Chambers of Commerce, Webster Groves School District, North Webster Neighborhood Coalition, and Forward Together in Action. Thank you so much for partnering with us on this event and spreading the word about the opportunities to serve in civic leadership. So thank you. I'd like to start off today with Mayor Laura Arnold. We so appreciate this opportunity to partner with you, Mayor Arnold, and the city on civic leadership, and really want to thank you for your efforts in gender equity on boards and commissions. Mayor Arnold joined the City Council in 2018 and became mayor in 2022. You can see she's the council liaison for a few different boards, and I don't want to take up too much time, but want to give Mayor Arnold some time to really talk about this initiative. Mayor Arnold?
Thank you very much, Beth. I appreciate that introduction and you all being here. I'm going to add one additional community partner, which is the National Women's Political Caucus of the Greater St. Louis area. So forgive me, I probably didn't get that on the list and review it properly, but I really am happy to have all of you here with us today for the Appointments Project in Webster Groves. I hope you find the next hour useful, and I hope it encourages you to apply to a board or commission. And if you're not from Webster, we're happy to have you, and this is going to apply to county level things as well as other municipalities around the area. I really don't think that people understand how important boards and commissions are to governance in local municipalities. Our boards and commissions provide a really important advisory function, and they have a significant voice in lots of decisions that are made about our cities. What gets talked about in boards and commissions is very much about who sits on them. The ideas that are shared, the different topics that come up are all about who is at the table at the time. And so in addition to giving us recommendations, they're also often framing how we talk about issues. And that's why it is so important that we have a very representative group of people on all of our boards and commissions. And today we're going to focus on gender representation. As you'll see later in the hour, while Webster Groves does great on gender representation at the elected level, we fall behind when it comes to our membership on boards and commissions. And so I'm looking forward to many of you using this as an opportunity to think really hard about applying. One of the things that we know from years of research is that many women think differently about elected and appointed office than do many men. For example, women often assume that they have to have some specific expertise in order to be a valuable member to a board or commission. And while we do have some boards and commissions that have professional requirements, the vast majority of them do not. What we really need are people who are willing to use their lived experience to help our community be as successful as it possibly can be. Another thing that is true of a lot of women is that in order to serve, they have to be asked. And sometimes they have to be asked repeatedly. And so right now, I'm asking you whether you live in Webster Groves or somewhere else to really take this consideration of serving your community very seriously because we need you. We need the experiences that you all have to be reflected in our policy making. One of the things I love most about Webster Groves is the talented and really smart people who live here and who are working hard to make our community the best it can be. I'm assuming that all of you are those people because you're here today thinking about how you can join in serving our community. So this is just an invitation that when this is over, if you want to call me, talk about things, I'll be here and I'm happy to do that. Before I turn it back over to Beth, let me say a couple of thank yous. First of all, to Beth herself. She has been extraordinary in helping us put this all together, as have the other people at the Appointments Project and United We, the National League of Cities as well. I want to thank our Director of Public Engagement. Nope, that's wrong. Director of Public Affairs and Engagement, Jenny Starkey, for her work on this, our City Manager, Dr. Marie Peoples, our City Clerk, Katie Nakazano, and then also our Assistant City Manager, Eric Peterson, who has helped out as well. So I'm looking forward to the presentation, and please do get in touch with me if you have questions. We're going to do a Q&A here, but if there's something you don't want to ask in the group, I'll be around. Thank you, Beth.
Thanks, Mayor Arnold. As we get started, I want to just mention, for those who aren't familiar with our organization, with United We, a little bit about our mission. So we advance all women's economic and civic leadership. So what exactly does that mean? Well, we are a nonpartisan nonprofit. We are research-based. And so our work focuses in 3 areas: research, policy solutions, and civic engagement. So today we're really talking about the civic engagement piece, which is Appointments Project for United We. And this program was developed in 2014 in response to our research. And really, basically, we wanted to find out, are local governments aware of gender disparity? You know, is there an effort to change this? How do women feel about leadership, civic leadership? Is it something they're interested in? Are they aware of that as an opportunity to serve? And then what are some of the barriers that might be holding women back from service? The research tells us several reasons that are sometimes cited for low participation. And Mayor Arnold commented on a few of these, but, once again, not being asked is really important. So this is really where men can be allies, and those serving really look at what, the gender composition is on your board or commission. And if it's a word of mouth type opportunity, think of who you can really share that with. Some women don't have the confidence, really. They think that possibly an appointed position, maybe they're not qualified for it. And then time. Women really want to know if they're investing, an hour, couple hours out of their day, is that time used wisely? And then also really want a sense of belonging. So as they are appointed and then they're serving, are they welcome? Are people appreciative that they're there? We also know that when we increase the number of women on civic boards and commissions, there's positive impact. So really increasing the trust and the efficiency in government, and really coming up with some innovative ideas in terms of solutions for issues, and really overall improving the life of residents in a community. So the Appointments Project serves as a resource, guide, voice, and advocate. So really 2 components of it. One is working with elected officials on kind of best practices, making sure opportunities to serve are easily communicated, systems are user-friendly, so folks can learn about opportunities and map that process. And then really working with women to reduce the barriers and educate them, once again, about the opportunities. Appointments Project, we're proud to say we've had over 184 appointments, and that's at the city, county, and state level, both rural and urban. And we've really focused on an initiative to make sure representation across the board. And so that we're proud we've really been able to move the needle in having more women of color as part of our network of women. We truly believe that boards and commissions should be representative of their communities. We're really not there yet, but continue to work with community partners to get there. So I'd like to introduce Maddie first. Maddie Heikala, did I say that right? I knew I was going to screw it up, Maddie. But I just want I just wanted to kind of take a moment to share, for you to share kind of your testimonial of sorts and your experiences in serving on a board or commission. So maybe we could start with just what made you apply in the first place?
Sure. So I applied. I was on a couple other boards that in nonprofits where I was phasing off of those boards, and was interested as I was leaving some other commitments to get more involved in my community and in the city of Webster Groves. And so there was an affordable housing meeting that was open up to all of the community. And I went to that meeting and I was just really inspired. I just thought like all of the information was really interesting. And I didn't even realize how involved the city was in these types of issues, and just wanted to become more involved after that. And I understood that the Plan Commission, which I've been on now for 3 years, does take a look at some of the zoning that impacts affordable housing, and thought, that would be a great fit. And also I have worked in human resources for about 20 years. And so you're like, how does that translate to planning and zoning, right? Well, 12 of those years have been with architects and engineers. So there is some basic level of understanding, right, that I've gathered from that experience. But I also think it's important for people to understand that while I myself may not be an architect or an engineer, we get information from staff in order to view the recommendations that they have. So my role is not to replace the staff, but be a voice for my community. So if I can understand what the planning and zoning staff have explored based on the needs of our community, I'm able to be a voice for part of the community, and understanding what's going on and how we might feel about different issues. So that's really why I applied.
Thanks, Maddie. Can you talk a little bit about maybe a typical meeting or a couple agenda items as a group that you have discussed, or some solutions or recommendations?
Yeah. So a lot of what we do is reviewing conditional use permits. So there's different zones, like very, very high level, right? There's different zoning throughout our city, and different zones allow different types of uses of buildings. And some of those are just, it's understood that those are allowed. And some of those are allowed on what's called a conditional use permit. And so, for example, we have a conditional use permit. Do we have one on today? We do. It's an amendment to the conditional use permit today. And so this conditional use permit, we are looking at, the revision is actually allowing a daycare to modify its hours. So when you get a conditional use permit, one of the things that you put on there is hours of operation. So, it may seem like, okay, this is kind of small deal, but the reality is that daycare is a huge issue for people in Webster Groves. And I have a almost 5-year-old this week and a 7-year-old. And so I'm really familiar with how big of an issue that is for us, and having another option with longer hours. They currently only go to noon. They're looking to extend to the end of the day is huge here in Webster. So conditional use permit is often something that's on the agenda. Something else we're looking at tonight is, as we all are familiar with, in December, there was a change to the marijuana laws. And so something we're looking at is a text amendment to our zoning tonight as well. So we do have we do allow medicinal marijuana locations, and with the change in the law, we need to look at, do we also do we amend that to not say medical marijuana, but marijuana dispensaries? So it's some pretty important things that come by us, which, you know, may on the surface may or may not look important, but the more you dig into it, the more you realize it really shapes what kind of city we are.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. Jamie has joined us, and Jamie, could you talk a little bit kind of what motivated you to apply for appointed position?
Hi, yeah, and thanks so much for allowing me to share a little bit of my story. I was told by an acquaintance that there was a sustainability commission. I'd done a lot of work in my parish and school to try to change the culture and become a more sustainable place. And so this person told me that there was a commission for the city, and I looked into it, applied, and was luckily appointed. I think that was 2019. And then at the top of 2021, we had gone through some leadership and people needed to step away from the commission. And so then I was chosen to be the chair at that point in time. So if not for that person, I'm not sure I would have figured out, you know, looked into what's going on at the city level. But I'm so thrilled that that this person told me about the availability of this type of opportunity.
That's great. And Jamie, can you talk a little bit maybe about a typical meeting, or maybe some issues that that group is currently reviewing, you know, in terms of just agenda items?
Yeah, our commission is filled with just really incredible people, ranging from professionals who are working in the sustainability field to people like me who, you know, I'm an advocate, kind of grassroots approach to changing systems. And our meetings, we try really hard to keep them at 1 hour. And what we do prior to our meeting is I'm making sure that the various subcommittees that we have they're ready to report on their status of what the work is that they're doing. And so we kind of go through updating everyone on our old business, and then introducing new concepts to discuss. And things that we've worked on. One of the biggest things that we've worked on in the last few years is building a sustainability plan for the city and introducing that effort to council. And at the end of last year, council approved our phase 1 priorities for us to focus on this year. And we are working toward dividing those responsibilities up in subcommittee and making sure that things are happening in between our meetings.
That's great. That's great. Before we move on, I thought we could maybe just talk about, you know, maybe just a personal takeaway in terms of serving and what that's meant to you personally. And maybe we'll start with you, Maddie.
Yeah, I think it's just been a really great experience. And one of the things that I've really liked out of it is better understanding what's going on in my community, and also that, you know, I can be someone who can have an opinion about a process or something, and I don't have to just leave it at having an opinion. I can volunteer for this board and have an impact. I can show up at meetings, even if I'm not on that board, and make sure that my voice is heard. So understanding how you can make an impact, and also just creating awareness, right? So I have learned a lot through this process, and I've been able to share it with a lot of my friends and people who live near me, so that not only am I more engaged, but they know how they could get more engaged or more involved or let their voices be heard as well. So that's been really neat.
Fantastic. And how about you, Jamie?
Yeah, Maddie, you bring up a really great point of like, happy to do the service, and then also like happy to like share the information with our community. I don't know. I just never thought like City Hall was accessible to me. I wasn't asking the questions either, but I just thought, oh, that's happening over there. And what I've found in my experience with two different administrations, having served on the commission through the last administration and now this one, current one, that it's incredibly important that the people who care about our community are weighing in. Sure, oftentimes you hear, oh, I would like to change this, or this could be better. But also there's so much creativity in going through this process that people bring to the table, ideas that, that sometimes I wouldn't even have come up with. So the ability to be able to share and work toward creating a better future for Webster Groves and future residents of Webster Groves has really been humbling and thrilling.
That's great. Thank you. And such great points. So I appreciate you kind of sharing your stories and your thoughts and experiences, as well as your time today. And hopefully you can be around for our Q&A here shortly to answer any additional questions from our attendees today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to turn it over to Molly, and she's going to talk a little bit as we dive in deeper to Webster Groves and what do boards and commissions, what does the composition currently look like in Webster Groves? Molly?
Yes, thank you, Beth. So we looked at 7 out of 19 total boards that were listed on Webster Groves' website, and we chose those boards based on whether or not they fell into 4 categories. We chose boards that dealt with planning and development. So I believe Maddie serves on the planning commission with that. Boards that have to do with library boards, housing boards, and parks and recreation boards. So of those 7 boards that we looked at, which is composed of 53 board members, we found that 38% of the members of these boards were female and 62% are male. And and Beth, you can go to the next visualization now. Like Beth has already said, United really believes that boards, and I think Mayor Arnold said this as well, boards should be representative of the populations that they serve. So we didn't just look at the composition of the board data, we also compared it to Webster Groves' current population broken out by gender. So as you can see, there's a higher percentage of women in Webster Groves compared to men. And so that's the blue bars, and then the pink bars are still showing that board composition data. And so the data that I just showed you is looking at Webster Groves, which is again part of the city, but we also wanted to highlight that those are not the only boards that is possible to serve on. And I think Beth, you talked about this at the beginning, that you've helped women be appointed to county and state boards as well. So all of you that live in Webster Groves also live within the jurisdiction of St. Louis County, which has over 70 boards and commissions that are possible to be appointed to. And that number is coming from their website. And we didn't do any data collection for St. Louis County for this webinar, but they are tracking their own 2022 appointments by certain demographics. So here is a screenshot of their 2022 appointments broken down by gender. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can visit their website. So that's all I have. Thank you, Beth, for letting me share a little bit more about the data in Webster Groves and calling to attention St. Louis County. And if you all have any questions during the Q&A, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thanks so much, Molly. So now, okay, what does it mean to apply? So we're going to get into the weeds a little bit here for you all. Based on the data that we need more women applying and serving. And so just going to take you right there. Here's a QR code for Webster Groves boards and commissions. And kudos to the city for having a really user-friendly web page that allows women to easily access and find the information in terms of what boards and commissions are out there, what do those boards and commissions do, and where can I find where the vacancies are? It's all on that page once you go into boards and commissions. And that the link for this should be in the chat as well. So feel free to take a moment now to look in there and, just really lots of opportunities, lots of different boards and commissions. It's interesting. Some people like to stay, in their volunteer areas, the same as their career. Some people want to do something completely different than what they're doing on a daily basis. So like I said, lots of opportunities and choices. So really encourage you to take a look there. And the application is right there on that same page as well. So just quickly, this is what it's going to look like when you go in there, and extremely user-friendly, lots of opportunity. And so I encourage you to join the Appointments Project Network. There's a link right there. Feel free to take a screenshot. We offer lots of resources as you advance your civic leadership journey. And we also do have limited opportunity for you to schedule an appointment with staff, to meet with staff if you need assistance in mapping out your civic leadership journey, if you have questions along the way or looking for additional resources. Really encourage you to reach out to us. We're going to take a moment now for Q&A. So we've got city staff on the call ready to answer any questions. Maddie and Jamie and their experiences, Molly as well, and for any data or research that we can assist with. So feel free to utilize the chat, or I think we have a small enough group as well if someone wants to, chime in with a question. And I don't want to put Mayor Arnold on the spot, but if there's anything additional that we've missed or that you really wanted to highlight today, please share.
I think after all these years, I know how to unmute myself. Just one thing, in addition to being mayor, and actually because I am an elected official, I am on a county board or commission, the Fire Standards Commission, which is the oversight board for our local fire training facility. And I do know, both from my discussions with the county executive and from their participation with United We, that, if you look at the list in Webster Groves and there's not something that is really you find very interesting, the county is making a concerted effort to make their boards and commissions more diverse. So I know, I hate to believe that I'm saying this, hard to believe it, but look there too. And because part of doing this, I think, is finding something that you're interested in terms of a topic and just being willing to dig in, because that's what we need from our residents, as somebody who's going to enjoy learning about what's happening and make decisions based on really thinking through. So I'll just leave it at that. And I will say thank you to Jamie and Maddie, because you were great.
Thank you. Here's a question. What is a typical level of time commitment to serve on a board? And maybe this goes to Jamie and Maddie to talk about what their time commitment is or what their prep is for meetings.
Sure. I don't mind to start. For us, it really depends on what's on the agenda. So we meet once a month, and the boards all differ a bit. So planning and zoning is one of the boards that I think meets more often at once a month, and often we have heavier agendas than other boards. So consider that in the takeaway from my answer. So as an example, for the meeting this month with 2 things on the agenda, it probably took me an hour to read through that material, to be prepared for I would estimate it's going to be a 90-minute meeting tonight. So overall in this month, maybe 3 hours. Occasionally there's a month where we don't have a meeting. I would say maybe once or twice a year we don't have a meeting because there's just no requests on the agenda. When there was more involved things like, for example, we looked at Douglas Hill pretty extensively in that project, then it may have taken quite a few more hours to prep because we look at all of those comments from the public, etc., that come in. So it really just depends what's on the agenda. But I would say in a given month, anywhere between three to, at the very most, I think I would say I spent 8 hours prepping, but I don't think that would be typical. I think it's more like 3.
Great, very helpful. Jamie?
Yeah, thanks. That is a really important question, Gail, because I think it's, you know, as women, well, I'll speak for myself. I tend to like want to help everywhere and do everything. And so understanding what I'm stepping into time-wise is very, very helpful. So I would, well, when I was a member, I would spend, gosh, it's hard for me to quantify because it just depended on what we were doing. Our commission does things that are like citizen facing. So tabling at various events to hand out some reusable bags. So that's a couple of hours, you know, a year. And then as far as like what our subcommittees are doing, some subcommittees, like if you saw that we had Christmas night recycling, we offered it for the second time, I think this last holiday season. That's one person doing a few emails, which probably in total was 60 minutes max of emailing over a 3-4 month period of time to make sure everything was set up, communication with Parks and Rec and Public Works, and then for the pickup. Also making sure that the lovely Jenny Starkey got the information out. So it's things like that, so that's like on a smaller scale. And then right now we're working on a cool project and researching what it would look like for Webster restaurants to engage with the Green Dining Alliance. And so that's going to be a little more of a lift. It just depends on, you know, where you are in your career and how much time you have, how much you can give us. And I'm very, very sensitive to that as chair, to making sure that the people who are raising their hand, you know, I'm helping if it's an overcommitment, or, you know, encouraging if you know, some folks haven't done a lot in the last year. So
great, very, very helpful. Here's a question from Jill. Do appointments happen on a rolling basis as there is need certain times of the year? So I think the question here is there a season to appointments?
I'll take that one. It is always open season for appointments. Given the number of boards and commissions that we have, we almost always have openings. And it just sort of depends on whether the openings fit to what your interests are, but they are done on a rolling basis. We actually are going to consider fairly soon, I think, solidifying some term limits. We have some people who stay on our boards and commissions for 20 years, and we have some people who serve one term, and some boards and commissions have term limits that are 3 years, some have them that are 4 years, and we're trying to standardize those things just a little bit, so we can better anticipate openings, so we can go out before people are finished with their service and find some openings, and frankly, or find some people to fill those openings. And frankly, I think that's going to provide us with a few more openings as well over time. But yes, rolling is the way it goes.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Are there any additional questions?
If I might, Beth, just follow up on the previous question about time commitment.
Yes.
Just as a broader picture, almost all of our boards and commissions meet once a month. Our architectural review board meets twice a month, but you have to be a licensed architect to be on that. So that, you know, makes it a smaller group. But everybody else, except for a second one, this is a temporary commission called the Charter Review Advisory Board, meets once a month. Some actually meet quarterly. And so we can, the city clerk, Katie Nakazano, is well-versed in how much time these commissions take and use, and so am I. So if you think, all right, I'm not going to do plan, I'm not going to do sustainability, I want to know about Parks and Rec, we can certainly connect you, anybody with someone who served on that commission to give them some more information about what that means.
And Mayor, can you apply to more than one, or can you serve on, a board and commission, or, is there conflict there?
So really two different questions. Can you apply to more than one? Absolutely. We'd like to know what your first, second, and third choice is. But often one of the things that you all have to remember too, is we are very much encouraging you to apply to boards and commissions. But if 6 of you apply for the same spot, we still can only appoint one of you. So often what that means is that we've appointed one person to a particular board and commission, and we still have talented people that we don't have room for on that board or commission. If you've applied for more than one, often we can find another place that you're interested in serving and that we have vacancy. The second question is about serving on more than one at a time. We tend to not like to have people do that simply because we want as much involvement from our community as we possibly can have. There are a few boards and commissions that have appointments that go from one to the other. So our Old Orchard Business District has someone who is also on our Business Development Commission. There are few things that are defined like that in our ordinances, but generally we'd like you to be on one at a time.
And kind of as a follow-up, do you need to be a Webster Groves resident to serve on the boards, or can your business be located in Webster Groves?
So that depends on particular boards and commissions. Some of our boards are designed so that only residents may serve on them. Most of our business-oriented commissions, if you're a business owner, we'd love to have you serve, and those are often the most difficult positions for us to fill.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that answer.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I was wondering, I know at one point, I think City Council was looking at, trying to do some more standardization of the boards and commissions for the city. And I think one of the questions I have is sort of, how do you keep green the boards that are active? Like, what process could the city have, or maybe there already is one, to figure out like where the needs are? Because I would imagine you wouldn't want boards to just sit around for 50 years when that need isn't quite as high anymore.
Yeah, thank you. That is a very good question. We have boards in our ordinance right now that no longer exist. Like, we have a farmers market board, but we don't have a farmers market anymore. So one of the things that council has done, and we've looked at the preliminary draft of the legislation, but we'll take it up later this year, is to try and do several different things. One is look at where do we need to combine boards and commissions if we do it all. What boards and commissions do we have that aren't really in use at all? And then also, how do we make sure that representation is not only diverse, but also isn't locked up by a few number of people who serve for a very, very long time? Don't get me wrong, we need experience on these boards and commissions. We absolutely do. And so we're trying to figure out a balance between having that experience and having enough turnover so these boards and commissions can continue to reflect our community. And we are going to do that, we hope, again, we're going to consider this still, is by putting some term limits on those so that you can serve, depending on what council decides, maybe 6 years, go off for a year, and then you can come back. Or you can go off and apply for a different board or commission if something else is of interest to you.
Mayor Arnold, we have a question about boards and how candidates are evaluated. And before I turn it over to you, I just want to mention kind of an example is I've had several women reach out to me and say, hey, look, I haven't been in the working world. I've been taking care of my kids. I want to get involved. I don't know what experience I have, or am I qualified? And one of the first things I say is, okay, what have you been doing and what are your strengths? Focus on your strengths not necessarily a professional career or, but things like running fundraisers or serving on the PTA, those are all great things. But I'll let Mayor Arnold comment specific to Webster Groves.
Sure. And I will just say, by the way, just so everyone knows, the first time I applied to a board or commission, I was rejected. I wanted to be on the library board and they chose somebody else. But I came back and said, hey, I also could do the Parks and Recreation Commission because me and my kids and I use it every single week. And so I ended up there. So when we talk about, I used the phrase lived experience earlier, and that's about living in our community and knowing the people in our community and understanding what our community is and can be. So if you have been out of the working world, that's okay. If you are applying for something that is really, really far away from your professional experience, that's okay too. Our process is you'll fill out the online application. It will be distributed to all the council members who will read it before you then appear for a very short interview in front of council. And that interview really says, we ask some very basic questions. Why'd you apply? What's your motivation here? And then the second one is, what do you think you'll bring to this commission? And when we talk about what you bring to this commission, again, it doesn't have to be a professional expertise. It has to be a passion or an experience within our community or something like that. It's not about some degree or job that you've had necessarily.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a question. What's something that surprised you when you started to serve on a board or commission? So maybe we can roll this to Maddie and Jamie.
Yeah, I'd say, Maddie, if you don't mind, I'll hop on here. Well, first, just how inspired I felt by citizens, neighbors coming together to have a conversation to make our community stronger. That was just delightful to me. And then I think probably the work and the effort and the research put into, talking through ideas and working with our council and staff liaisons, just the ease in which those conversations happen. There's an eagerness from City Hall to listen to what neighbors have to say. And so I think that was, I just wasn't expecting that, to see, just how, I don't want to say easy, but really it's been really valuable work to be able to have conversations like that and to work together to see a project come to fruition.
Yeah. Thanks, Jamie. I totally agree with what you said. Some things that surprised me when I first joined, I came from the city, and they are set up a little bit differently. So one of the things that surprised me is to know, I expected the planning commission, the commissions and boards to be mostly volunteer led, which they are, but I didn't realize that our officials are also mostly volunteers. So there's a difference between staff and our elected officials, and what commitment that means, especially during some of the past years when they've gotten a lot of criticism, to know that they're volunteering to do this because they care about our community and they want to help shape and mold it. So that was really surprising to me. And one last thing I'll add, kind of on to that same note, is that there's a lot of transparency in how things happen. And I attended a lot of city council meetings and before I got on the commission and in the commission. So basically everything that happens, you're able to see. There's not some room that people are making decisions in that you can't be aware of. So the learning about what the sunshine laws mean was really interesting to me and really helped me understand that there's a lot more transparency. It's just a matter of showing up and asking questions. So
Great, thank you. We are running out of time, but I just wanted to thank Maddie and Jamie for sharing their story, as well as your time, Mayor Arnold, and all your experience and great stories to really encourage women to get engaged on boards and commissions. So yes, please reach out to Webster Groves if we have additional questions, and continue the conversation. Just wanted to once again remind that there's opportunities to get engaged with United We, and just you can register with our Join the Appointments Project, and there's a link to do so. We also love to celebrate civic appointments. So share your story with us, reach out, let us know, and we can celebrate you on social media and in our newsletter. Other ways to get engaged with the initiative, sharing our research and policies, 3 different areas when you can serve with our organization. And then also we have several upcoming events that would love to put on your radar. Please visit our website because this is always changing. We currently have a program called Show Me Ready that launched, actually we're just launching today, that is a course for women who are interested in serving on an appointed board or running for office. And that's in cooperation with University of Missouri Extension. Women's History Month is coming up, and that is a fun-packed month of events. So I've noted a book event coming up, but several opportunities. And then we will be having Appointments Project with St. Louis County. And so we don't have a date yet, but I just wanted to put that on your radar. So if you're on our mailing list, we can definitely reach out to you with more specifics. And then a big event we have every year is our Champion Breakfast, which is coming up. And that'll be a hybrid event. Really excited about that with some amazing speakers from the NFL in cooperation with the draft that is coming up very soon. So please take a moment to complete our post-event survey. We want to hear from you. We want to hear how we can help you in your civic leadership journey. And your feedback is really important to us. Once again, we are very research-based. So would like to hear from you. I'll give you a second. The link to that will also be available in the chat. But I promise it doesn't take very long, just a few quick questions. So really would love for you to complete that for us. And lastly, please contact us once again if you need anything from us. And I'm going to turn it back to Mayor Arnold. Thanks again to all the community partners and everyone who shared the information. Share this with your friends. Encourage them also to check out the opportunity to serve on a board or commission. Mayor, do you have final words?
I do. Thank you, Beth. I really appreciate your help on all of this. And I'm going to be very brief. And here's what I have to say. If you need to be asked, I'm asking right now. So follow up, get on the Appointments Project's mailing list, and you will find that there's a place for you either in our municipality or in another one at the county level, at the state level. And thanks all for being here.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.